Hey guys, Lee Hogan here. We're at Conondale testing the brand new 2023 model KTM range. And of course, 6 bikes here on show today. We've got to test 3 2-strokes and 3 of the 4-strokes. I'm representing ADB magazine. It was great to get out there and have a little bit of a ride on all of these bikes. So I started off on the 2-strokes, and my first bike of choice was the 250 2-stroke, and I had an absolute ball on it. Very impressed with the new bike, the new model. I mean, nearly everything on this whole bike's completely changed. It's more a case of what isn't changed. But some of the notable mentions for me would be the motor, and of course the new fuel injection is fantastic. It has a little bit of what I would call a lean feeling right off the bottom that makes you think, oh, hang on, we need to richen this up a bit. But it's actually, as soon as you start to roll that power on a little bit more, it fattens up a bit all by itself with the tuning, and that nice meaty mid-range into the top end. So it complements each other, and it's a bit deceptive. I'm a bit of a fan of the old school days with 2-strokes, where we never had these 2-strokes idling. We'd wind them down so that if you let go of the throttle, they'd stall, they'd run off all by themselves, and you'd have to restart them again. So it's a little bit hard for me to wrap my head around these days. We have to have these idling so that they run properly. So I did have a little bit of a lean feeling that I did have to try to wrap my head around, but once I got used to it, I found it came on super smooth right off the bottom into a nice, rich and punchy mid-range. So overall, the motor, deceptively fast, and I think it doesn't have too many flat spots through the range, that's for sure. After I rode the 250, I hopped on the big 300. A lot of talk about the new 300. I played around with the maps a little bit here. We've obviously got the green map is quite aggressive on all the bikes. The white map is the more docile, smoother. I found that the white map on the 300 really smoothed out the power delivery of the 300. So for me, it was a big difference. With that green map, the aggressive map on the 300, as you tried to roll it on, it came on like a steam train. And here, the track at Conondale today, it was really a little bit on the skatey side. There was some twitchy spots out there. So that white map on the 300 really smoothed things right out for me. In comparison, the 300 to the 250, I felt a little bit more at home on the 250. It had a nice bark to it. It seemed to squat down nicely in the corners. The handling characteristics were fantastic. The 300, you did noticeably feel that little bit of extra horsepower, and trying to tame that down a little bit. Also the handling characteristics a little bit. I found that the 250 was just a little bit smoother. So for me, overall, I would definitely like to give the tick over the 250 from the 300, that's for sure. The 125, I'm a big guy for a 125, 82 kilo, up and down gears all the time, but hey, it's always a lot of fun. And I've got to try to put myself into the headspace of one of the young kids and how much fun they'd be having on these things. Fuel injection worked nice on the 125. I didn't find that there were any lean spots or rich spots. It was nice and smooth. Just, I was up and down gears so much on that thing. Made me smile though, just brought me back to my young junior days. The chassis and the handling characteristics of the 125 was superb. I did have to stiffen up the forks a little bit though on the 125, that's for sure. In the afternoon after lunch, hopped on the 4-strokes, and my very first bike that I hopped on was the 450, and all I can say is wow. By the time the end of the day come around and I had to evaluate and have a think about all 6 bikes, the 450 sits up here. It is spectacular. They've done a fantastic job, and there's no real part of the bike that I would change, to tell the truth. I think they've got the gearing right, the shock felt beautiful, the forks were fantastic. The motor is super strong, so you could pull a tall gear everywhere. I thought I might want to go for that more mellow map, the white map, but I didn't. I love the green map. The strong one allowed you to pull that taller gear and torque your way around the track. It was a real fun bike to ride, and it's exactly what you want out of a 450. Now, I've been a little bit critical over the last few years with the KTM 450 and feeling like they've tamed down the motor a little bit too much. And almost spaced the gearing apart a little bit too much. So for me, this is a breath of fresh air for KTM to produce a 450 like this. Very, very impressive. The 350, I know there's a lot of people here today that love the 350. I've always found the 350 to kind of be in between. I've always sort of preferred to either let's get a 250 and let's get that thing rocketing and going a little bit faster, or let's get on a 450, and I've always found that 350 to kind of be that in-between bike. But today I enjoyed it. I do still feel that it is, you know, that halfway bike in between. It doesn't know if it wants to be a 250 or a 450. It is a lot of fun to ride. You can rev that bike out if you choose to. I just find myself in the headspace when I'm on a 350, I want to torque it around, and it doesn't quite have the torque, of course, of that big 450. So I did find myself a little bit in between gears on the 350, but it's a nice bike. It's a lot of fun. It handles well, forks are good, shock's good. And my last bike that I rode for the day was the 250. I don't know, it's obviously such an important bike for KTM, and they put a lot of effort and research and development into this bike. I was really impressed with the 250. If there was one thing I could pick with the 250 for me personally, I'd go up 1 or 2 teeth in that rear to shorten the gap between the gears a little bit so that I could you know, just keep it in that nice meaty part of the power a little more. But other than that, very nice bike, handled well, the chassis is good, the fuel injection worked exceptionally well. The maps on the 250, I really like that green one, the aggressive map. Yeah, a fantastic bike. Overall, I do have to say though, 450 for me, standalone, pick of the bunch. KTM, tip of the cap to you guys.